course, it is 11:30 on the AM in Jamaica on a Thursday morning, and of course, you know what happens on a Thursday morning and on a Monday morning at 11:30. It is your mid-morning program, Final Decisions. Of course, I am Mark Maitland from the Garden of Paradise Funeral Home, and with me, as per usual,
Errol Green from Exodus Funeral Home.
it will get better because
Mr. Maitland, I love that song,
it will get
every
better.
time when I hear that song, it is just reminding someone who is going through some depression, some stress,
Yes.
that it will get better.
It will get better. And I am happy for the fact, Mr. Green, that we, for the past 6 months, we have been able to help persons find a new leash on life and even find things easier running in not only preparing and planning for, but also executing funeral services. And for those who have benefited, we're happy that you continue to listen to us and you continue to spread the word to others about what is happening, because the program really was designed and thought about with you in mind, so we could help to make your navigation through the funeral industry a whole lot easier. And it is good that you have not only benefited from what we offer here, but you share with us
Right.
that you benefited. Mr. Green, on Monday we started a discussion, music and the impact
Yes, sir.
on the funeral industry. But as I reflect on music and after the program, Tuesday evening, I was watching on YouTube again, and I realized that we discussed so much, but there was so much that we have not gotten
Right.
into,
Right.
because this thing is deep. And what I discovered is that we use words, we play on words in music and in lyrics to make reference to aspects of the funeral industry, especially, for example, with the whole transitioning through death. I have, in my time in modern Jamaica, I have not known of a reliable train system. I don't know if during your time, Mr. Green, there was a reliable train system, but I realized that in our music, we often try to metaphorically speak of death or transitioning as with a train ride.
Yeah, because Mr. Maitland, concerning what you're saying, a cuckoo song a playing in my mind right now. And listen to what the man say. The man say, in that song, King David sit up on the heavenly throne.
Mhm.
Hallelujah. There you go up, see people business and leave it alone. And it just bring, a kind of thing to the whole
thing.
to the whole thing.
To the whole thing. But when it comes to, for example, transitioning, we use the metaphor of a train ride, like, for example, Zion train,
Mm-hmm.
this train, Zion train, and westbound train.
Right?
And I want to go home. I remember even Ken Booth song, I want to go home. And there are other songs that we use the metaphor, or we compare transitioning through death as with the experience of a train ride. And I often wonder then how it is that we don't have a reliable train system in Jamaica.
In Jamaica.
But yet, when it comes
we-
to the comparative analysis with
Right.
death and life and the transition, train is what we use
Right.
as one of those things. And so we see where even in the music, there is this play on words. And even though, again, we don't have a reliable train system, when persons hear the lyrics, they can still, make some form of link between this train ride and, for example, the ride into the afterlife or the ride into death.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that for a long time, music has been the escape for us. We haven't think that
Mr.
music is
Maitland,
just-
there's a song about some chariot business, don't it?
Yes, chariot. I don't remember.
Some
but
sweet chariot or carrot coming
yes,
to carry me home.
But let me tell us about the sweet chariot. Swing low, sweet chariot.
Right.
Coming for to carry me home.
Right.
No, you see that swing low, sweet chariot business, there, Mr. Green, is really from our ancestors, It's really from the slave days.
So Mr. Maitland, he says, so chariot is central now.
All right.
The funeral business.
So you see, you so easily you draw the inference, and that was one of the ways, because as you know, we have come to know through the study of Black history that when the burden became light on our forefathers, they used music as a way of escape.
Right.
And in the music also, they would often speak of death because in some instances, the realization is that the only way out of this is through death. And so this song came about, swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. I look over yonder, and what do I see? Coming forth to carry me home.
Right.
A band of angels looking after me, coming
Yeah.
forth. And so death at that time was seen as a form of escape. But they did not look at death in a brutal way. They look
Right.
at death as a welcome friend.
Yes, right. You know, taking you out of this misery.
Misery of
Yeah,
slavery.
you know what I mean? Right.
And so because death was looked at as a welcome friend, they, put a kind of song, swing low.
But people are writing songs with those meaning again, Mr. Maitland. You know, it has so much to it. You know what I mean?
And there was a
So-
whole lot to it.
So you know, we after the chariot business is it's a key thing to funeral thing.
Yeah, man, that's why.
Coming from our ancestors.
That's
They're open to be riding chariots when they die, you know?
Ladies
But-
and gentlemen, you see how Mr. Green take. You see how Mr. Green take the people him song now and start the film thing with it.
Yeah,
And
man.
they were talking about a heavenly chariot now, comparing it to the ride on a chariot. And Mr. Green is saying chariot is essential from long time.
Yeah,
But yes, we see in our music, and it did not just start with the artists that we identified on our last program. It was long before. It was from the days of slavery.
Right.
Music was seen as that avenue, and it is without doubt one of the reasons why music is so embedded in our culture, now, Mr. Green, because our ancestors used music, used songs. They made songs, and the songs were what they used to relieve their burden. The songs were what they used to bring encouragement in situations.
Right.
And so it came down to us. And it is no doubt that's part of the reason why, even now in our day, music plays such a rich part. You have never been to a funeral service in Jamaica, and you don't find that we have more singing than anything else.
Yeah, because even in a tribute section, I expect that a tribute, you come and you say something about the person. You know, I went to a funeral, Mr. Maitland, and a man give a tribute to them, mash up the whole church, you know. The man say, in the church say, you know, I talk about all the man good and all them something there. We don't need for the all of you who owe the man.
PM.
Come pay the man now. Or bring the money, come pay the family. You understand? That's tribute, you know what I mean? You talk about something about the person, but no, tribute is a song.
It's a song.
And it is so comforting still to the family.
Yeah, because again, we use music to escape the pain.
Right.
And this has always been, and personally talk about reggae music, and even all over the world, people talk about reggae music, and they will talk about how, in their different struggles, reggae music was what really helped them. And others will tell you that in their deepest, darkest moments, music is what lifted them.
Let me ask that question, Mr. Maitland. You notice that in the secular world, we are getting more music now to ease the pain where funeral, where death is concerned, than from the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that gospel artists should be more, looking into making lyrics or thing to really.
Part of the thing, Mr. Green, is that there is a form of norm or cultural practice attached to what you just said, because we are so used to having funeral music taking on this whole the background of funeral music coming from a gospel standpoint.
Right.
So that nowadays, when you see more funeral type music coming from the secular world, it is almost eye-opening. The truth is we do have gospel artists that still give or produce funeral music. But can I tell you something? The music that is produced by the gospel artists for funerals don't sell as much as when the secular artists do it.
Yeah, because I go to Candlelight, I go to the day where music just released for that particular individual who died,
And that is what sells.
And that, yeah, and
then
it's work.
you have to also congratulate the creativity of our local artists to identify a niche, speak to that niche, and capitalize on that
Because
market.
one of the songs, Mr. Maitland, that did very well even up until today. Some know me lose a friend.
Still resonating.
You know, and I must really, comment and congratulate the person write that
Yeah,
song.
I Octane was the artist who did that song, and in every conversation where you talk about music in the funeral industry, that song.
The man start the song by feeling the pain is in his teeth and Jano star.
All right,
You know?
we're gonna go for our break now, and when we come back, we continue this conversation. It will get better, cause it came to pass. We're up on a break.
It will get better. Oh,
Because it came to pass. And if for any particular reason this is your first time joining the show, or you happen to be scrolling through your radio station and you stopped here, the program is Final Decision, aired every Monday and Thursday. I am Mark Maitland from the Garden of Paradise Funeral Home. And
I am Errol Green from Exodus Funeral Home.
so if by chance you happen to be to stop here this morning, let me invite you to join us every Monday and the Thursday at 11:30 on the AM. We will be here to have a lively discussion, and the program is aimed at helping to provide information in relation to the funeral industry, navigating through the funeral industry in Jamaica, and basically discussion on aspects of our funeral service and the provision of funeral service in Jamaica. So today we really are continuing a conversation as to the role that music plays in the funeral industry. And before we went to the break, we started a conversation because Mr. Green dropped up the whole thing now about swing low, sweet chariot, and went back to slavery. And so,
Oh, yeah.
interestingly, the next aspect of our program has its roots in slavery.
Right.
Now, Mr. Green, you ever realize that most cemeteries that we have in Jamaica, most public cemeteries, there's either a cotton tree or a willow tree?
Yeah, you know what they say about that, Mr. Maitland?
No, tell me what they say about the cotton
Them
tree.
say because Duppy live on a cotton tree. So anywhere people say cotton tree in general, Mr. Maitland. Anywhere people say cotton tree, them afraid of it. You understand? And it's like the little one, them, you know,
the big one. The big one.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
people afraid of cotton tree. Them say, growing up as a child,
Yeah.
it is known to be duppy tree.
Yeah.
So as a little boy, your parents have beat you. And said, don't go play in the cotton tree.
Yeah. But let me tell you where the whole thing with the inference of the cotton tree with death came from. And again, it has its roots in slavery. Because as you know, most plantations back then, they had slaves picking cotton. So cotton was one of the main things that slave, apart from cotton cane, there was also cotton. And many of the cotton plant would grow to big trees. Now, because the cotton tree, most of the times, were strategically in the center of the plantation, the middle of the plantation, in the farming area of the plantation, what used to happen, Mr. Green, is that when you have slaves who, quote unquote, revolted, or the slave owner decided for whatever reason that a slave should be punished and made an example by killing, what they would do instead of shooting, because sometimes, you know, they felt that shooting was too sudden. So
Yeah,
they would not kill the face.
they're too quick.
And right, and they wanted to make an example of the person, so they would hang them. And then where they would hang them really is on one of the cotton trees, because the cotton trees had sturdier limbs to support the body weight, and so they'd hang them on cotton trees. And not only would they hang them on cotton trees, they would later on have the body removed from the cotton tree, and then they would be buried under that same cotton tree. And so it was for this reason now that persons back then, and again, most of what we believe now come down from ancestry. It was believed that Duppy, or the spirit, or the,
And
the
because
deceased
again,
lived
them
in
never
the
used to
tree.
bomb dead.
Yeah.
So they use a lot of cotton now
Right.
to stuff them
Stuff
nose and them ears.
Right. And so the associated cotton with that. No, look at the beautiful part now, as you made mention of that, Mr. Green. What happened was that when they removed the slave from the cotton tree, they'd either be buried under the same cotton tree or in close proximity to the cotton tree. Now, like you rightly said, at the time, the prevalence of embalming was not so much. And so what they would do when for example, the slave owners or relatives of the slave owners died, they would use the same cotton to, and we see that practice up to today.
Right.
They stuff their nose, ears, and any orifices on their body that it was figured that leakages could come from. And so not only was the cotton tree itself associated with death, but the cotton also was associated with death. The other thing is that where it came to, for example, at a time when caskets or coffins, quote unquote, were being made, it was either the cedar tree
Or the cotton
or
tree.
the cotton tree.
Right.
And so for a long time in our history, the cotton tree was this association between cotton and cotton tree in particular and death has been around for a long time. And so even today, individuals will tell you that, boy, they don't like cotton tree now because cotton tree a duppy tree.
Yeah, it's known to be, you know?
No. The other thing, Mr. Green, that I realized is that not only were cotton trees on the plantation, but in close proximity to cotton trees or cotton farm, there would be what we know as willow tree.
Mm-hmm.
And willow tree came to be known as the weeping willow. And even one of our singers, Alton Ellis, sings about it. You see that once a tear has fallen, the willow cries eternally, cry not for me, O willow tree. Yeah? So the
So
willow
tree
tree,
make a certain kind of sound.
yeah. So the thing now,
But Mr. Milan, you know, say, I'm more stable to Mr. Willow Tree.
yeah. So what on a windy day,
Right.
if you ever listen on a windy day, you hear the willow, when the wind passes through the branches, you hear it makes a whooping sound, yeah, or a whooing sound. And so because of the sound that it makes is kind of a whooping or a whooing sound, person makes the association with death, and they say the willow is weeping or crying, and it is felt that whenever the willow starts to cry, it's either Duppy or cry or somebody's gonna die.
So Mr. Maitland, back in the days now, when me and man I say, boy, them pass on the cemetery and hear John Brown a ball, you know. Cause they get me in an accident,
Mm-hmm.
or he died tragically, you know, or certain kind of way, them say, so when them pass I hear the wind now, and the willow them here
Yeah, man, the willow tree.
and then put it say John Brown on their ball.
The willow tree. Or they say, or what they used to say is that
Oh my word.
if it's a situation where the cotton tree is near to the willow tree, they'd say that he is in the cotton tree, but you're hearing the voice through the willow tree. But what is really happening is that the wind, when the wind passes through the branches of the willow tree, you hear that wind sound. And growing up, I was always fascinated. Hey, Mr. Green, a long time like the dead thing, you know. I was always fascinated by the sound of the willow tree. But we find that more and more because of population and the need for housing. You know, these things that they cut down the willow tree and whatever, especially because
the fisherman side of the country, you know, of make boat and all them things.
Exactly. And so the willow tree is not really common in many urban areas, but in very rural areas, you will see a couple willow trees. And of course, where there are cemeteries in the rural areas, you will definitely see cotton trees and our willow trees. So in a year, for example, now you're in the cemetery and you hear the woo. That's when the wind is.
Mr. Maitland, you know, some
passing
growing up
through
that
the
woo
willow.
there is a duppy son. When
Yeah.
I grow up,
Yeah.
once a year, woo!
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the man a come there,
Yeah, the dopey there. Or the dopey. You see, especially if rain fall. On a rainy day, and the wind is blowing.
So I saw people grow up to the life and up in a brother. Because Mr. Maitland, if you never bring up this a while ago, me not have it in my head, you know, so that like a woo sound there here, you know. It's a crying of a ghost.
Yeah.
Because I that me grow up come here.
There are a lot of things that in our modern time that we still carry on actually came from way
Then
back.
Mr. Maitland, if you never, Mr. Maitland, then what could I convince a man now? At a late time, I might drive past one cemetery. I hear that woo there. What can convince him? Say that somebody was cemetery, I cry, Mr. Maitland. Not knowing that the willow tree would normally give off that sound when it is windy.
And then they say that once a tear has fallen,
No, man, we have to
the
reveal
willow
the Alton
cries
Ellis song, man.
eternally.
Alton Ellis, trust me, you're bright. You're very bright.
Willow tree.
You teach us something that,
So shed a tear eternally.
wow.
But the willow, yeah man, the willow tree is actually the wind passing through the branches and when it does, it gives us.
There's a next sound.
No, let me tell you now.
Mr. Maitland, hold on there.
No,
Hold on.
let me tell you. You know when it becomes beautiful when you have like a flurry of willow trees in the same place, and the wind is blowing a year, different sound coming from different angles. That's when it becomes.
Yeah, it's two
Symphony.
sound, my friend, when I grew up, you know. Two sound. And that since me big, me realize, you know. It's when puss
Yeah.
I cry at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when baby a ball, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I know you grow up as a cat. I mean, never, if a person don't know that the sound that a cat will give off in the night, you know what I mean? And the willow tree sound. You know, growing up in my time, in my space, you have a lot of willow tree. I have a lot of cat. So, brother, when the night cold, you know, and when they hear them sound there, you know, brother, I hear grandfather now start telling us some stories, you know.
Yes. So the 3 minutes that we have left on the program, we really stop to visit some of our ancestral forms
Right.
and norms, and much of what we see in the funeral industry today with the music, as you rightly said, it came down to us from our ancestors, where they used to use songs to soothe their sorrow, and at that time, death was seen as a welcome friend. Death was seen as the avenue to escape slavery, and so swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth. to
Mr.
carry you.
Maitland, there's a next song I want to bring before we take our leave. You know what song was said, Death have a time to steal us away?
Steal us and carry us away.
Yeah, I don't hear those song playing church. It was a dead girl song at church song.
It was a church song, man.
Death has a time.
To steal
I'm a
us
fan of
away.
this that song. You know?
To this day, it's a scary song for me. I don't even like it. I don't even like that song. It's still a scary song
Oh
for me.
my
But
word.
it was really a church song, and it was
Yeah.
used. It has its prevalence in crusade. I think what they used to do.
Altar call song.
Yeah, man. When they have altar call, nobody not come and drop that song because you get scared enough, so then drop that song there.
Yeah, I remind us of Death have a time to
And
steal
people
it
walk
away.
to the altar.
Wow.
But yeah, our history and our culture is a beautiful one.
It's beautiful, Mr. Maitland.
Beautiful,
You know,
and there are always aspects of our
I think this
culture
younger generation, they need to know these things.
And if I thought that only sports and music was something that we had something to look at, now you realize that even as it relates to death and funerals, some things are embedded in our culture. There are some diversities of things embedded in our culture. But as we continue the discussion,
Right.
we will talk to you some more on these things.
So we need another Louis Bennett. I can't tell these things more.
And I'm not rid of you know, Mr. Green. But listeners, we thank you so very much for joining us again. Today we look forward to having you on our next program. And please tell somebody about the program. And of course, if you happen to have missed the program or catch the last part, you can always go to the YouTube and Facebook pages of the Omega Radio. Look for the KLS Omega Radio live and look for Final Decisions, and our programs are there for you to listen to, and you can always share it. This has been another program. I am of course Mark Maitland from the Garden of Paradise Funeral Home, and this has been another of our program, Final Decision. Of course, with me as per usual, Errol Green from the Exodus Funeral Home. Thank you so very much, and we'll be back with you on another program Monday and Thursday at 11:30. It will get better because it came
to pass.
Thank you so much.
Won't last forever.